Clinton. I will be voting for Hillary Clinton.
Well, you certainly waste no time. Of course, I don't either, so I'm going to say that I'm voting for Rand Paul. Now, I know he didn't win the nomination or anything, but I don't like either candidate and have been done with voting for the lesser evil since 2008. I originally thought about voting for Gary Johnson, but he's really done and said a lot of things that have, frankly, really disappointed me.
I avoid talking politics on this channel, on this forum, because politics are divisive. There's always two sides. Republicans and Democrats. There's left and there's right. I can have my opinion and there will always be an opposing one. That is the nature of a healthy democracy. But
Yes, politics often is divisive, and I think one of the main reasons for that is because political power, by its very nature, often results in one side using coercion against the other, sadly. You say there are two sides, which many have said, including, the mainstream media and establishment politicians. But frankly, many issues are too complicated to only have two answers. A good example is immigration. The two most common answers politicians seem to give either have no restrictions and let everyone in, or restrict or even outright ban certain groups entirely, yet neither extreme really represents my opinion at all. The border should be secured, and immigrants from certain countries should be screened more carefully, but banning entire groups like Muslims, for example, is really un American and will open the door to various other groups having their rights violated. The political spectrum itself, I'd also like to point out, is much more complicated than most people realize. There's left and right, but there are many different types of left and right, and the definitions of which change rather frequently with the times. And of course, there are different degrees of it, and there are even political ideologies like libertarianism, which don't fit very neatly into what we consider left or right. The Nolan chart, which you see here, though it has its own imperfections, is really the best way I'm aware of to acknowledge the different complex sides of the political spectrum.
this is not that. This is about a megalomaniac who's driven by nothing but ego. A man who cares exactly zero about the people of this country.
All right, I'll give you that Trump's bad news, but Hillary is just as arrogant and crooked, if not more so. But that has been the case with pretty much every presidential election in recent history. I fail to see what makes this election so much different. America hasn't had a president that actually cared about its citizens since JFK, and we all know what happened to him.
Person who brags about sexually assaulting women and shames others for the way they look.
And this is where you hop on the bullshit train. The shaming others for the way they look part's true, but Trump did not brag about sexual assault in the recently released Trump tape. What he said's pretty vile and immature, I'll give you that, but all I saw was an overgrown adolescent engaging in some bluster to try to take the edge off a failed sexual encounter. As you can clearly see in this clip, he's saying, I tried to fuck her, not I slipped her a roofie.
She's still very beautiful.
I moved on her, actually. She was down in Palm Beach. I moved on her, and I failed. I'll admit it.
Whoa.
I did try and fuck her. She was married.
Huge news there.
No, Nancy.
Yeah.
No, this was marriages. And I moved on her very heavily. In fact, I took her out furniture shopping. She wanted to get some furniture. I said, I'll show you where they have some nice furniture. I took her out furniture. I moved on her like a bitch, but I couldn't get there. And she was married.
Even the most objectionable part, where he said the infamous pussy grabbing phrase, doesn't prove anything.
Just in case I start kissing her. I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the pussy. You can do anything.
Look at those legs. All I can see is the legs.
No, it looks good.
Come on, shorty.
Oh, nice legs, huh?
Oof, get out of the way, honey. That's good legs. Go ahead.
Once again, as incredibly vile as what he said was, as you can see, Trump didn't grope or rape anyone in this clip. Bill Clinton, on the other hand, has actually raped many different women on many different occasions, and Hillary Clinton has gone to great lengths to silence and threaten many of them. It's entirely possible Trump may be guilty of the same thing, but you're going to have to do a lot better than that clip to prove it.
I'm speaking up now because this election has very little to do with politics, policy, or legislation. This has to do with morals and principles.
If morals and principles were present in this election, neither Hillary nor Trump would have gotten the nominations of their respective parties.
I'm voting for Hillary because, make no mistake, there is only one person that can defeat him. One person that can keep him away from power, and it is her. I'm not a huge fan of her stale politics. I'm entirely aware of all the criticism against her. I'm aware of all of her failures and shortcomings. But she's intelligent, and she knows what she's doing. More importantly, she's mentally sound, she's responsible, and she's sane.
The person who could have beaten Trump was Bernie Sanders, who Hillary and the DNC stole the nomination from through fraud. I disagree with him on many issues and don't believe that his brand of democratic socialism is the answer, but Bernie Sanders at least ran an honest campaign centered around real issues. Hillary Clinton, on the other hand, has flip-flopped, lied, and defrauded her way to power and will no doubt continue to do that if she's elected president.
Power to activate a demographic, an electorate that isn't typically very active. That is young people. You see, this generation, if we're all banded together, we have the power to ensure that this tax-avoiding, lying, racist, misogynist stays away from power and out of the White House.
Some of the DNC emails leaked these last several months have revealed multiple racist statements by Hillary Clinton and key figures of the DNC, such as referring to Hispanic voters as taco bowls. Nobody's been held accountable, nobody's been admonished, and yet it's still business as usual. And the false narrative of the right wing have a monopoly on racism is still being pushed.
Says things like, I don't like to talk politics on my channel, or I'm not going to reveal who I'm voting for. Call them out. Sitting on the sidelines this time around is not okay. This election is different. And if this guy gets elected, and you stood back with your arms folded and didn't speak out against him, it makes you complicit.
All this guilt tripping does is piss people off and make them stop listening to you. If you want to do that, then by all means continue, but honestly, this is the main thing about your video that me and various others are taking issue with. Contrary to popular misconception, the fact that not everybody votes isn't a bad thing, because many people are frankly too stupid and immature to vote. And I'd like to add, there are also many people that don't vote because they're sick and tired of the false choices they're being offered. If you want to vote for Clinton, well, that's your business, but you really could make your case in a much better way than you've been doing.
This election is different. And if this guy gets elected, and you stood back with your arms folded and didn't speak out against him, it makes you complicit. It makes you partially responsible for handing him the reins of power.
I am not handing anybody anything. I've spoken out against both Clinton and Trump and will continue to do so. You claim this video is about why you're voting for Hillary Clinton, but it seems much more about why you're voting against Donald Trump. You've made no legitimate case whatsoever for voting for Hillary Clinton, but you've only relied on hackneyed, partisan, poorly thought out talking points with a hefty dose of virtue signaling that discredits your entire message. Your video in a nutshell is vote for Hillary Clinton and pressure people on YouTube into doing the same thing, or you're complicit for the actions of a narcissistic, racist candidate potentially being elected president. You pretend like you're this unbiased, thoughtful person when in reality, you're nothing more than a partisan hack. I may be biased, but at least, unlike you, I admit it.